Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Andy, a petrophysicist based in the UK, and on this channel I explore various aspects of geoscience, petrophysics and Python. In today's video we're going to look at a commonly used plot within geoscience and petrophysics, and that is a well log plot. We will see how to create one in Python using Matplotlib. Well log plots are graphs that show well log measurements on one axis and a depth measurement on the other axis, when that depth measurement can be measured depth or true vertical depth. They allow easy visualization of well log measurements that have been acquired along a well bore, such as gamma ray, bulk density or neutron porosity. Well log plots are commonly viewed in portrait orientation, with the shallowest depths at the top of the plot and the deepest depths at the bottom of the plot. The log plot is split into multiple divisions, which are commonly referred to as tracks. With Matplotlib, we will be referring to them as subplots, and these tracks can contain either a single measurement or multiple measurements that are grouped together based on some commonality. For example, resistivity measurements share the same measurement type and they also share the same scale. We can use log plots in a number of different ways, including petrophysical and well log analysis and well-to-well correlation. So let's jump over to our Jupyter notebook and see how to create a basic well log plot using Matplotlib. You can find a link to the notebook in the description down below if you want to follow along. Here we are in our Jupyter notebook. In this section we will see how to go from a basic line plot to a more visually appealing and informative log plot. The first step with any of our projects is to import the libraries that we're going to use. For this particular tutorial we will be using Pandas, which will be used to store our data, Matplotlib, which will be used for visualizing our data, and finally Lasio, which is a library developed specifically for loading and manipulating LAS files. Parts of this library were discussed and covered in my first YouTube video, so check it out on my channel if you want to see how to explore the contents of a LAS file using Lasio. Once our libraries have been imported, we need to import our data, which is from the publicly available Volv dataset. This dataset contains well logs from over 20 wells that were drilled within the Norwegian North Sea, and they were released by Equinor to promote learning, research and development. And you can find a link to the Equinor website for more details about this dataset in the description down below. So to load our file, we create a variable called las, and then we read in the file using lasio.read. And within the brackets we pass in the file as a text string. So we can run this cell, and once we've run that cell we can confirm that our data has been loaded by calling upon df.head after we have converted the LAS object to a data frame. So we can see from our results that we have several columns of data, and we have touched upon these in previous videos, where each column represents measurements that have been taken whilst the logging tools have been moved along the wellbore. The columns represent the following. We have AC for acoustic compressional slowness, Cali for borehole caliper, DEN for bulk density, GR for gamma ray, NEU for neutron porosity, RDEP for deep resistivity, and RMED for medium resistivity. So as seen in our data frame header, we have the depth set as the index to the data frame. Now to make things easier, we can convert this into an actual column within the data frame, and we can do that by resetting the index and making sure that we have in place is equal to true. And this will allow us to make changes to the original data frame object. And when we call upon df.head again, we can now see that DEPT depth is a column within our data frame. And we need to do a slight rename on that column to change it to depth so that it is more readable. And we can do that by calling df.rename and passing in a dictionary object. First we pass in the name of the existing column, and then we pass in the name that we want the column to be renamed to. And again we have this statement in place is equal to true, and that way our changes are reflected in the original data frame object rather than a copy of it. So if we run that, we now have our data frame in the right format, with all the columns correctly labelled and in the right order. Now we can move on to generating our log plot. The simplest way to create a line plot of our data is to call df.plot and then pass in two columns, with the second column being the depth column. So when we run this, we get a very simple and basic line plot. We can see that it is upside down as our indexes go from 0 up to 4000 on the y-axis. And it is very hard to see the variation in the data. If we want to view all of the columns within the data frame very quickly, we can create a subplot grid. And this can be done by calling upon df.plot as before, and instead of passing in the curve names, we pass in subplots is equal to true. We can also specify the figure size, which will help us see more of the variation within the data. So when we run the cell, we then have multiple subplots, one for each column within the data. We can see right away that it's not brilliant. We have our resistivity curves at the bottom, which are generally plotted on a logarithmic scale, so that we can see some of the variation within the lower value. However, this plot is useful to visualize where we have data within our file. But now we will go into more detail about creating these plots. And there are many ways to generate subplots using Matplotlib. But for this particular tutorial, we're going to work with subplot to grid. And what we have to do first is define a figure. And we assign that to plt.subplots, and then we pass in the figure size argument. We then set up the axis that we want to plot on the subplot. We then have the axis that we want to plot on the subplot. In this case, we'll name it AX1. And then we call upon plt.subplot to grid, and then we pass in multiple arguments to that. We first pass in the shape of the subplot grid. So in this case, we're going to have one column and one row. Then we specify the location of our axis, and in this case, it will be position 0, 0. It will be the first subplot on the grid. We can also set row span and col span both to 1, so that they don't take up more than one subplot. Next, we need to grab the data from the data frame, and we can do that in the same way that we've done in the previous videos, where we can call ax1.plot. Then we pass in our x-axis and our y-axis, which is set to depth. We then pass in the data source, which is our df or data frame, and then we assign it a colour, what colour we want the line to appear on the plot. Next we set up a label for our x-axis and specify the limits. So we're setting the x limit to 0 to 200 API, and our y limit, which is our depth, and we're setting that from 4,700 to 3,500. And note that these are in reverse order, so that we're going from shallow to deep on our plot. And finally, we can display the grid. And there we have it. We have a nice looking plot for our gamma ray. We have the depth increasing from top to bottom, and we have our gamma ray scaled from 0 to 200. We can make it look much better by adding other tracks or other subplots to the plot, which is typically done on a log plot. So next we will add the resistivity log. And we can do this by duplicating the line that we had before, where we have AX1 is equal to plt.subplot to grid. But what we need to do is increment the numbers in the first argument. So we need to increase the number of columns to 2, and we need to change the index position of our new axis, AX2, to position 1. So within Python, we generally index from 0. So our first column will be 0, our second column is 1, and so on. And again, we can copy the code that we've had before, and we just change a few of the arguments. So we change ax2.plot and change it to our depth for our deep resistivity, and also change the color. We then change the label so that it's set to deep res. So res is an abbreviation for resistivity. We then set our x limits to 0.2 to 2000. And with resistivity log, we generally have them plotted on a logarithmic scale. And to do that, we want to keep the y-axis linear, but we want to change the x-axis to a logarithmic scale, and we can do that using the semi-log x function. We then set the y limits, or the depth range, again from 4,700 to 3,500, and then display the grid. And there we have our log plot. We have our gamma ray on track or subplot 1, and then our resistivity on track 2 or subplot 2. And the benefit of log plots is that we can see trends with depth. We can see that we have higher gamma ray down to about 3,800, and just after that the gamma ray decreases. And we can see the similar response on the resistivity, where we have a lower resistivity which is decreasing towards 3,800, and then when the gamma ray drops, our resistivity increases. Same down here, where we have a drop in the gamma ray and a much larger spike within our resistivity. We can add a third track, which is our density log. And again, it's a simple copy and paste and then changing the argument. So we're changing this to den for our density. We're changing the x label to say density, and we're also changing the x limits. So you will start to see that a pattern is being developed here, but there's a lot of duplication, and we'll see how to resolve that shortly. So now we have our three tracks or three subplots on our log plot. We have our gamma ray, resistivity, and then we have our density at the end. And we're starting to build up a picture of the different measurements with depth. So to make it easier when we come to plotting, we can take out some common elements from each of the axis calls. So up here in this example we have ax.grid and the y limit all being common. We also have the x label, which is common, but we can extract these names into a simple list. So here we have the curve names in a list: gamma, deep res, density, and we will iterate through that in a for loop. We still have our AX1, 2 and 3, our axes, and then we can see that we're down to 2 lines for our gamma ray track, and for our resistivity track we're down to 3 lines. We have what we're plotting, our x limits and the semilog x function. But we've taken the common functions out of the code and put them in this for loop, and we're going to loop through each of the axes within the figure object. Here we're setting the y limit, so for each axis we will apply this y limit, and then we will also apply the grid, and what we're doing is looping through the curve names list that we've created up here. So when we enumerate through the figures, we're going to increase I, which is our index position that we're using in our list. On the first iteration, we will end up with I is equal to 0, and when we refer to that list, curve names, we will get the first object within that list, which is gamma. And if I run this cell, we can see that we get the very same plot that we did up above. And that just makes our coding more efficient, especially if we're going to add in more tracks. We can tidy the plot up further by removing the depth labels between each of the tracks. And we do this by calling upon another for loop, and we're only looping through 2 of the axes, ax2 and ax3. And what we're doing is getting the y tick labels and making them invisible by calling visible equals false. We will also adjust the white space in between each of the subplots. So when we run this, we get a much tidier plot. There's less gaps between the tracks. And one final curve that we can add onto our plot is a neutron porosity. And neutron porosity combined with bulk density allows us to identify lithology variations as well as fluid identification. So to do that, what we're going to do is put our neutron porosity on top of our bulk density log. And we need to do a little bit of rejigging of our code. So first we need to add in a neutron curve name. Next we need to set a new axis, AX4, and that's going to be twinned with AX3 or axis 3. What I mean by that is that AX4 will lie on top of AX3 and share the same y-axis. With AX4 we've just added in a similar line to AX3. We changed the den to NEU and we've set the x limits from 45 to -15. Also, with each of these axis calls, I've reduced the line width just to make it easier to see the lines on the plot. We're now going through the figure.axes, and I've added in additional lines, and you can see that we've got these 2 lines here where we're setting the tick and the label position, and we're moving them to the top of the plot. When we come to I is equal to 3, which is our 4th axis, remember Python indexes from 0, I'm setting the position of the top spine of the plot, and that just means the top line of that plot is being moved up, and we're setting the position of that to 1.08. So the remainder of the code looks the same, and when we run that, we now have our neutron density, the same subplot. And from here we can begin to identify lithologies, such as where we highlighted earlier where the gamma ray drops and the resistivity increases. We can see that our neutron porosity and our density are almost lying on top of each other, which may indicate that this is a carbonate interval. So as we get further down on our log plot, we can see that the density and the neutron begin to separate, with neutron moving towards the left and density moving towards the right, which could indicate that we have shalier intervals within this area here. And there we have it. We've seen how to create a basic well log plot using Matplotlib by taking it from a simple line plot up to a multi-track log plot. The way that the log plot has been generated can be turned into a function to make it easier to generate these plots in the future. If you want to go through the notebook in your own time, you can find a link to the notebook in the description down below. But wait, don't click off this video just yet. If you've enjoyed this content, be sure to click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell to be notified when new videos are uploaded to this channel. If you want to see how to use an amazing library called Lasso to load and explore LAS files, then you click on this video up here. If you want to see how to work with cross-plots in Matplotlib, then this video may be of interest to you here. So thanks for watching, and until next time, bye for now.